Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the 7 Sports Cave. A huge show on tap tonight. Michigan and Michigan State, two top 5 teams in the country, both headed into a different direction this week. We'll talk both of those teams with former and current Fab Fiver Jimmy King, as well as Matt Charbonneau from the Detroit News and the Olympic sports. They're just continuing on this time of year. Jake Vetter, Olympic U.S. snowboarder, is here. Charlie White, talking about figure skating, also here. They both have gold medals. I don't have everything. I just have this set here. This is the 7 Sports Cave. Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the 7 Sports Cave. Big panel today, talking college hoops today. Jimmy King, former Fab Fiver. Are you still currently like a Fab Five member?
Always a Fab Five
for life? So saying former is just not true.
No, that's not true.
Member of the Fab Five, Jimmy King, is here. Matt Charbonneau, he's a member of the Detroit News.
Yeah, not nearly as fabulous. I don't know how to describe it.
Covers Michigan State football, basketball, pretty much everything ongoing. Guys, look, those are the two teams in this city that people are starting to matriculate towards as the Red Wings are doing their thing, continuing to plummet. The Pistons seem to not be able to gauge anybody's attention for any longer than maybe a half a second. But Michigan and Michigan State basketball, guys, are we seeing maybe as good as these two programs have ever been at the same time?
I would like to think that we had a pretty good run ourselves, but really in a long time, I think with Michigan being ranked number 2, Michigan State 6, we'll see how that ends up in the next couple of days. But the teams are playing well, obviously well coached. Beeline and Izzo, two of the best coaches in the country, in my opinion. And with the talent that they have currently, Michigan State particularly, I think they've been going through some injuries. They're going to go as well as Cassius Winston takes them, in my opinion. Nick Ward is doing his thing in the inside, and Beeline team, they just get better as the year goes on. So I'm looking for a clash in the next couple of weeks.
Is there a time frame you can go back to, Matt, to say when these two teams were, I mean, as far as the programs are concerned, top 6 rankings, that may change. They might both be top 5. That's what I'm kind of anticipating tomorrow.
I'd say a pretty good shot at that. And when you're talking about the history of these programs, there's always been times where one's very good, obviously, maybe the other one's struggling or okay, but you've never had them at this level at the same time very often. I'm trying to think of certain years, and it's really hard to come up with them when they've both been at this point. And Tom has talked about it a lot, and John Beeline's brought it up this year, the whole comparison to Duke, Carolina.
Right.
And if this can continue, if this can go into the next several years and you have this routinely and consistently, I mean, it's great for the fans here. It's good for college basketball. As Jimmy mentioned, that these two teams are playing late in the season. I just hope they keep kind of both going at this pace. So those two games, I mean, they could be epic when you're talking about this rivalry. And
both teams right now look like they're at least continuing to still build. Neither has hit their peak, especially Michigan. I mean, look, they had their first loss of the season. I don't really care. It's at Madison. It's a tough place. You've been there. I mean, that's a tough place to win for anybody, right?
Anybody, and Jimmy knows
it's a tough environment.
Yeah,
it always has been. The Kohl Center is very tough. It's like an NBA crowd. That's their NBA team. And when you walk into that arena, you feel it. The electricity, the fans are on you. For example, my freshman year, and I know Iggy had a tough go yesterday. I did the same thing. First time in my career, I blanked. I had a 0, a goose egg. I didn't score at all. We got blown by 25 points. People don't remember that. And that put us on track. So I hope it does the same for the current Michigan team.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, John said, look, I'm kind of, we want to win every game, but we don't have to worry about it anymore. We lost the game. We can't go undefeated. That talk is over. How will John Beilein look at this, Matt, and help, these guys realize, okay, now you can stop reading the press clippings about yourself. You're not going to go undefeated. You don't have that pressure anymore. Let's just go play.
I got to be honest. I don't think that probably was really a problem with Michigan anyway. It's both teams are kind of interesting in the fact that they don't have guys that I think are worried about what their status is outside of it. They care about winning games, and that's it. So I don't think John Beilein has a lot of work to do in that area in terms of worrying about the undefeated season. He has consistently always been a guy about getting better every single time out. It sounds like a cliche, but we've seen it routinely for Michigan under John Beilein, and that was what made the 17-0 start so impressive. Normally you see that team kind of go take a few lumps early in the year, and by March they're really rolling. Just think, if that's the same thing we're seeing now, think about how good this team's going to be by the time we get to March.
Jimmy, how much did that trip, maybe abroad in the summer, help them kind of maybe get past some of those lumps? Because they lost a lot of the games they played against those pro teams over in Europe.
So what that did for them as far as the team camaraderie, they're able to go through adversity. They knew early going through the summertime, losing and having some adversity there, how to bounce back, what to expect going into the season. I think that's why they started off so well. So when you're going over there and it's just you guys and you taking your lumps, you really have to find out quickly because it is somewhat of a young team, what it is, what your expectations are, how you're supposed to play, and what it takes to play at this level. A lot of guys haven't been called upon to be leaders, and these guys have stepped into that role. And I think that's why they has such a good starting point, going 17-0.
I think that they have swag. I mean, looking at your shoes, you got some swag, but Jordan Poole certainly, he brings that kind of attitude, and so does Iggy. He's the guy who kind of maybe said some things he probably shouldn't have about how, great they are, and I want Duke, and we don't want Bama, man. Nobody wants Bama.
That's all right. That's okay. That's all right. That's all right. I can appreciate that, though. I mean, when you go to Michigan, right, you're one of the elite. Yeah, Michigan, right? Because that's what everybody does to Michigan. You're an elite talent, and you want to play the best. You want to be the best. I was just telling Matt, like, the scheduling that these guys had, I wish we had. The schedule that Beeline sets for the guys, and the schedule that Izzo sets, I wish we had that type of. You want to play against the best. I don't care if it's early, late, middle. You always want to play. You always want to be on that stage against the best talent. And so I don't mind what Iggy says. I don't mind what the guys do. We talked, obviously.
You guys, come on.
You just got to be able to back it up.
You guys invented the
smack
trash
talk.
Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. But you do have to back it up, and I think that it's good for the game. It's just fun. You got to go out there, even though it's high level sport and people want to make a business out of it. It's still fun, and it's a game. And I love to see that.
And when you got a guy like Xavier Simpson,
sure.
I mean, all those other guys talking about this is a guy who I think would rather just run through you and destroy you any way it takes to win. I mean, this team feeds off of that. Brad Underwood, Illinois, said it last week. This guy's the MVP of the league. Maybe not the best player, but he's the most important to his team because they go as he goes. He has that mentality of just hammering teams,
but
and
that's
they feed
the
off
Big
of
Ten,
that.
right? Yeah. That's the Big Ten. Like being recruited. It was. I remember the saying we used to call it "Big Ten makes men." That's hands down. That's why you come to this.
And talking about Xavier, I mean, we're going to talk about Michigan State now. I mean, Cassius Winston, you almost said word for word what I believe, and I think what Tom Izzo believes that his point guard needs to be. He is probably the most valuable player on that team. He may not have, the most points. Nick could do that. Josh Langford, when he gets back, can certainly take over. But Michigan State will probably go as far as Cassius Winston.
Well, absolutely, and he, as I said in the Detroit News today, there's a plug. He is the player of the year in the Big Ten right now. Now look, we're not even at the halfway point of the conference season yet, so a lot of that can change. But just the way he's playing, he's putting up the numbers, that part's easy to see. But when you watch the way he plays and how he understands the game now, not especially with Josh Langford out, Kyle Arns out, he understands it's on him. Nick Ward's a big part of this too. But if you just watch the way Cassius kind of runs that team, when to push it, when to pull back, when to go, he gets guys the ball where they need. He just understands the game so much better now. And the interesting thing is, they talk about the point guard being an extension of the coach. I mean, they couldn't be more different. Tom Izzo and Cassius Winston. Cassius isn't the, crazy emotional guy like Xavier Simpson, but he still wants to win. And I know everyone keeps talking about the matchup they're going to have because Xavier Simpson got the best of them last year. It's all that's going to be talked about up until that point. So I know I'm looking forward to that one, but Cassius is, in my opinion, the best player in the conference right now. We'll see.
And I think the numbers are a big reason why, and of course the voters, obviously, guys in Illinois and Iowa, they're going to say, oh, the numbers are going to, the voting as far as that goes. But I think that the big thing I'm looking for with this team, especially tomorrow against Maryland, they're basically their only home game in a 5-game stretch where they're on the road a lot, is Josh Langford going to play? And when he comes back, if it's not tomorrow, how much Is it going to make them better, or is it going to maybe, because they're playing good basketball without him, and you can't.
They are.
It's crazy to think one of your best players, you're playing so good without him, and if he comes back, it could maybe throw a wrench into how well they're playing.
Yeah,
or not.
Yeah, that's tough to say, and it's kind of along the lines of when people saying Michigan State's better this year than they were last year. And Tom Izzo hates that. You lose a couple lottery picks. Yeah, you're not better individually, but they are playing more together. Josh Langford, I don't think he's going to play tomorrow night. When that changes, it's tough to say. The longer it goes, though, you start wondering how much. When is he going to come back? And if he does, how much time does he need to get back?
That's the worry.
The beauty of it is that, like you mentioned, the team is playing so well.
They are.
So he could take his time coming back. He doesn't have to rush it and possibly get re-injured or have a setback. So they have some luxury there.
The flip side, too, is you're playing Aaron Henry, Gabe Brown, 2 freshmen. They probably wouldn't have been getting this sort of playing time without it.
And hitting big shots.
And Aaron Henry has not shied away from any of that. Gabe Brown has started to show that. That's going to matter because with their first few games playing, they looked like freshmen a little bit. Not being in the right spot all the time. You've seen just in a couple games that changed a lot.
The Big Ten as a whole, guys, when we take a look at the standings here, I mean, Michigan State's at the top only because they haven't lost a game. Maryland, I mean, this is all of a sudden a battle for the first place tomorrow in East Lansing. So Michigan's right there nipping at the heels. Purdue, which is a team that's crazy. Michigan and Michigan State just made Purdue look silly, but Purdue's made the rest of the conference look silly. So is this a top-heavy league? Is it as deep as we think it is, Jimmy, or not?
Well, historically, the Big Ten has always been pretty deep. When we were playing, when there were 11 teams, we took 7 teams to the tournament. So I can anticipate it not necessarily being a top-heavy team. I think it's deep all the way through. It's going to shake out a little bit. I think the top tier teams are still going to lose 3 to 4 games, which sounds like a lot, but going into other arenas, it's difficult to come out with a win. If you have a marginal night, you may come out with an L.
All right, I'll ask you both. Who's better right now?
Michigan. You know, I gotta say, I'm a homer. But
at least you're announcing it.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, it's tough. I think the perimeter game of Michigan offsets what Michigan State tries to do, and then conversely, Michigan State on the inside is going to give Michigan problems. So I think it's just a tale of two different styles.
I don't want to back away from it, but it is a toss-up right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so close. I mean, Josh Langford being out, Kyle Arndt still being out, definitely doesn't help Michigan State. But there are some matchups you like. I mean, I love Nick Ward. Against John Teske, but then you've watched Teske the way he's played lately,
playing
stepping
from the
out,
outside,
hitting jumpers, and that's going to be a tough matchup for Nick on the other end. So, I mean, there's so many ways you can go with this. Can Charles Matthews take advantage if Josh Langford's still out, if Kyle Arndt is still out? There's a lot of unique and interesting things, and I'm just
you're gonna ride the fence.
Well, just go with the team that hasn't lost in the conference.
Oh, okay, there we go. I was hoping we would have a split.
We'll do 50. I
would hope that. The great thing about being the host of this show, I don't have to make a pick.
You got to pick.
So no,
you got to give it. What about your pick? Huh? No pick. No pick.
You know, right now I do think Michigan is playing a little bit better as a team. They did it for a longer stretch of time. Michigan State still was finding itself, but it doesn't matter right now, and that's the great thing I think all three of us can agree on is because February 24th is going to be the first time we see it, and then we get to see it, a week and a half later, March 9th, to see it again, and we'll probably see it if everything goes according to plan in the Big Ten Tournament Championship game, and we may see it again even down the road further from that, which is exciting stuff. I know I'm excited about basketball. Guys, thank you guys so much for coming in. We got a couple other guests coming in, so I'm going to let these guys get out of here a little early tonight. We want to hear from you, though. What do you think? Who's better, Michigan or Michigan State, and why? Use the hashtag 7SportsCave. I'll get to those tweets later on in the show. Coming up next, though, we're going to talk some Olympic sports. Figure skating coming to Detroit. We've got a special snowboarder. He's the #1 snowcross snowboarder. Yeah, there it is. In the world. Well, 4th in the world, but who's counting? We'll be right back here on the 7 SportsCave. Stay with us.